the Mick, hey?
Yeah.
So
And
James
then
is
I'll
going
be
to...
comparing and contrasting with the
Okay.
Babe, which
So-
I reviewed a while back.
James is going to eat some kale that I chopped up. He's been putting it in his soup, so he finds that's fine. So I got some zucchini given to me yesterday, and so I mixed that in with some beans and rice and peas, and that became soup. And some whole wheat toast, and for dessert, pineapple, a chocolate truffle, and mandarin orange. I'm going to talk about the Lone Ranger and an interview with God.
So all told, both reading and food-wise, a good healthy diet. I'm kidding about the reading. I don't generally recommend sports reading and stuff like that.
Well,
I
some
don't
people might
necessarily recommend watching
The Lone
movies,
Ranger?
but I'm telling
Yeah.
you, I was raised on a diet of Mickey Mantle.
And the Lone Ranger.
I
Yeah.
love the Lone Ranger, and of course I used to love the New York Yankees up until they got hold
Well,
of
this
Canadian
it's-
teams. Starting
says it
about
was
69.
160 minutes in all.
660 minutes.
160.
Okay, that's amazing.
And it had a bunch of different shorts. It had one animated thing, and
Yeah, I
it-
saw that. I was surprised, but it was an official Lone Ranger animated thing, right from way back when. With the, and how you can tell is I heard the Rossini, I think it is William Tell Overture, which is one of the best pieces, as far as I'm concerned, one of the best pieces of music ever composed.
What I actually
gets
enjoyed,
it
I
pulls your
enjoyed the
attention.
commercials the most.
The commercials were
great.
hilarious.
I
There was
loved them.
one for Wheaties that I kind of
Yeah.
saw. I was, and Paulie was asking, do they even make Wheaties anymore?
Yeah, I don't know if they do.
It used to be called the Breakfast of Champions.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But,
So they'd have sports.
then I guess
figures
people thought,
endorsing.
why am I eating wheat cereal when I could just eat toast? Yeah. So anyway, I don't know. I don't know what happened to it. But yeah, I enjoyed having this on in the background while I was doing whatever. I guess I was trying to write a poem, and it worked out okay because I looked at it this morning and I'm like, yeah, that one's all right.
So it was something of an inspiration then.
And
It's
something in
probably the
background.
music, not so much the acting. I kind of like Jay Silverheels as Tonto, but Clayton Moore, he's wooden. I'm telling you, most people I think act better when they're in a mask, like Michelle Pfeiffer. Not the greatest actress. I think the best acting job I saw her do was when she was playing Catwoman, when she could hide her looks and stuff like that.
You're losing some of your soup dripping off.
Ooh,
off
okay.
the
So
corner.
if it goes there onto the plate, then I won't
Yes.
really lose it.
No. So anyway, I watched an interview with God, and I did really like the fact I watched the beginning credit things, and what was it called? Giving Films or something like that? I can't remember. Maybe it says on here somewhere.
It prints
But-
awfully small on that one.
Yeah, well, I can hardly read these things anyway. So, but it was something like that, and they said 100% of their profits went to charity, and I'm like, that is awesome. So I'm gonna look for
Giving
more of their films, because it's great to encourage people who are doing films, who are giving the profits to charity. That's terrific. I mean, they're employing some of their actors or whatever. That's fine, but yeah, I like that about this film. Now I don't know if they were trying for something here, but I don't know if it really succeeded. The young man, I mean, he was going through a difficult time in his life, and a really difficult time in his life. So he, it's understandable that he was angry and stuff, but I don't know that somebody who's really devout like that, I don't know if they would react that way to God. And I mean, he's in this story. He's interviewing a mysterious man who claims to be God. The young man is a journalist, so he's writing this. He does interviews all the time of people to write his stories, right? So he's interviewing this guy who claims to be God, and I think that, well, at least I would, if somebody told me that they were God and I believe in God, then I think I'd be like, okay, I'd just go with it and see where it goes. But he seems really skeptical, and he's giving God a lot of, fact-checking sort of questions and stuff like that. And I don't know that he would. I don't really believe that about the character. And I don't think there was enough in the story to explain the actions of his wife. There wasn't enough. There should have been some background or something that, like, why this came about, or if not that, why she reacted as she did at that time. There was none of that, so that part kind of fell apart a bit. But I would like to see these people make way more films, because I love the idea that they're giving away 100% of their profits to charity. I love that. So anyway, there's a lot of good Christians out there. So James,
if I were interviewing a claimant for God, I'd just ask him to start reciting scripture.
Yeah.
Because you should be able to get it right from the get-go.
Well, that's it too. I didn't really, I didn't like the way they framed God's questions and answers and whatever either. I didn't think that it sounded really, believable. But whatever. They were trying for something, and I'm glad that they tried it. I hope they try more. So.
It was a gift, something or other. I like the guy's look. It wasn't, it's kind of a retro look with the mustache and the longer hair. Looks kind of like 70s. But it wasn't set in the 70s, right?
No.
I can see from the guy's collar that that's not the kind of collar they were rocking in, or I was rocking in the 70s. Not that I think I had one suit coat.
But it is good to see, like, near the end, when the young man's lost something, and the wife, he runs into his wife, like, runs into her. They meet again. They see each other, and she says, "What happened to your whatever?" And he's like, "It's gone." And she said, "Well, you love that." And he's like, "It's just a whatever, it's just a thing, right?" And he said, I broke one of your cups, right? And she said, it's just a cup, and I like that, because honestly, I ran across something somewhere, it must have been in a movie or something, because I talk to very few people, but somebody was saying something about how we tend to, when we love somebody very much, we have a hard time when we're not feeling the love. We have a hard time just feeling indifferent. It's easier to go from love to hate for some reason with somebody you love than go from love to indifferent. Whereas most of the people out there, they could say whatever to you or do whatever, and you'd just be like, whatever. And I think it's important that with people you love, to just kind of be able to take a deep breath and go, it's just a cup. Who cares? Like, in the grand scheme of things, that doesn't matter. The cup doesn't matter. So, and try to be good to the people you love, because honestly, even if even somebody that you have fallen out of love with or whatever. Well, there was love there at some point. So, how can you get to a point where you can go, I'm glad I experienced that love in the past. It's not here now or whatever, but I'm thankful for it or whatever. And I don't know, this movie does raise some questions about faith and stuff like that. So it might be good to watch if you can. I mean, you can feel good knowing that the profits are going to charity. 100% of them.
I hope they're telling the truth.
That's what it says.
do.
I believe them.
That's good.
I don't have faith in a whole lot of people, but I do have faith that there's a lot of good Christians out there.
There's some.
So, anyway, go on about your sports talk.
Although I gotta say, I kind of get suspicious when I'm driving through communities that are supposed to be religious or ultra religious. I'm driving the limit and I'm the slowest guy on the road.
Well, there's a lot of people out there that they're warm in the pews in a church, but they don't. If you talk to them about anything in the Bible, they probably wouldn't know very much about it. I don't know what they're doing while they're sitting there in the church.
Yeah.
It seems like there's a lot of people out there who believe that if they just attend church every Sunday, then that's making some sort of a commitment, which will in turn lead to salvation or something like that. But, I mean, you don't need a middleman to... And you shouldn't have one, honestly. You should be striving to work on your personal path with God, or towards your own salvation, or whatever. I don't understand the need for churches, honestly.
Yeah, so there's one quote from the Bible. Work out thine own salvation with fear and trembling. And in other words, don't pay so much attention to what other folks are doing or not doing. So I'm a Christian, so I'm going to pay attention to what other folks do.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's up to you.
Yeah, I always wanted to take select quotes from Anton Sandor LaVey's Satanic Bible and test them out on capitalists who would also claim to be Christians. And I'd be saying, so this is pretty good capitalist creed. And frankly, it is. Something like greed is good. That's kind of Gord Gecko's mantra. Mm-hmm. What was that show? I can't even. Wall Street?
Remember.
Yeah, Wall Street.
You like that one pretty well.
Yeah. And it's the Satanists, at least according to Anton Sandor LaVey's credo too. But I would really like to do a selection from there, a select selection, and try it out on the, what is it, the prosperous gospel, the prosperity gospel. I'd like to try it out on some folks like that. Like, this is pretty good statement of prosperity gospel stuff, and then you do the big reveal. Oh, this is Anton Sandor LaVey's Satanic Bible. You guys have got your Christianity all screwed up. Well, not totally. I mean, there's no such thing as an absolute antithesis between things, I don't think. Like 1 and 0. Are those antithetic? Or is it -1 and 1? Are those antithetic? And it doesn't get much more pure or clear cut, then it doesn't matter with mathematics. Or is it infinity and 1? Or is it infinity and 0? Yeah? So, anyway, or is it infinity and minus 1? Or is it infinity and minus infinity? Is there such a thing? So I just finished this morning The Mick, an American hero, the legend, and the glory. And it's an autobiography. It's written by Mickey Mantle in the big print, and then under that, slightly smaller lettering, with Herb Gluck. It's probably Gluck or something like that in the original German. And that, if you drop the L off, you got an English word, luck. But it means more like happiness or something like that. But it can mean luck, as I recall. And in Dutch, I think it's Geluk. And it means roughly the same thing as it does in German, from what I can tell. Plus a new section of career stats and a scrapbook of memorable photos. And I'm telling you, they're more like execrable photos. I presume in the hardcover edition, the cloth edition, as they refer to those things in the industry, where it would be a somewhat larger format, the photographs came out a little bit better. But check this out, can you see Mickey Mantle and his dad there, their faces? Kind of hard.
Yeah.
This one shows up a little bit better. But there are some photos. I mean, here we've got, I know these All-Star or Hall of Fame baseball players.
Wow.
Some of them. Yeah, exactly.
Totally blacked out.
This is Joe DiMaggio, I think. And this has got to be Mickey Mantle. Those are the 2 New York Yankees. I don't know who this guy is with the Mets.
Well, maybe they can reprint the book and fix
I don't know.
the job they done on those photos, because that sure
yeah,
doesn't
that's
work.
awful. This guy from the Dodgers, it looks as though he's black. Maybe it's Jackie Robinson, but I don't know.
Because I can't imagine they would have submitted, like the author or whatever would have submitted photos that are that unusable.
It's partly, I think, just putting out the paperback edition.
Sure.
So but the trouble is, it's originally the original edition, the cloth edition, was 85, and the paper edition was 86. So it was right away. But yeah, I can kind of tell the difference between Mickey Mantle and Whitey Ford here, but they were almost exact contemporaries, I think. I think they both started maybe the same year, 1951. And here's me and the old Bowser, and I go, who is that? And that would be Bowie Kuhn or something, Bowie Kuhn, I can't remember. It must have been Bowie, because he's calling him Bowser. But that was the commissioner of either I think of the baseball, all told, not just the American League. And I can tell Roger Maris and Mickey Mantle there pretty well. I don't know, that's pretty sad. I can tell Billy Martin there, and that because he had a big schnoz. He'd never met Billy Martin. Was borderline crazy. He's the one who was saying, I was telling him, he was out hunting with Mickey Mantle, and Mickey Mantle admits every time they were out hunting, they'd never get permission from the farmers.
Oh my
Duck
gosh.
hunting.
Wow.
And he admits it. He says it's poaching, right?
Yeah.
So one time a warden or something like that pulled up behind them, and they start running. And you say, of course you always run. And I'm going, no, that's the kind of stuff that's done in the ghetto. And that's when you get car chases or whatever, people aren't on foot. No, when the cops have got you, not dead to rights, you'd better surrender and don't run. It's not your right to run from the cops. But so these are wardens. I don't know if they're packing heat. Presumably it's the United States. I was shocked when I hit New York City for the first and only time, and I could see security guards packing heat right in the airport. Different. So, so Billy Martin, who ended up, after we retired, coaching. Can you believe a guy that this unstable coaching the New York Yankees? And I think he might have won 2 World Series as a coach. But his owner would fire him and then rehire him and stuff like that. Anyway, Billy Martin says, the rest of you guys go on. I'll shoot it out with the wardens. Say what? And the wardens were so scared they took off. That's how Mickey Mantle got away with poaching. Billy Martin did too. Pretty unstable guy, but I think this is a set-up photo with Mickey Mantle with a gun on, pointing right at Billy Martin schnoz. But there's one account in here where someone, I think it's an opposition player, commented on Billy Martin schnoz, his big nose, and then Billy Martin proceeds to beat him up. And Billy Martin was a small guy, but I guess he knew how to handle his fists and stuff like that. He came from, I always thought he came from New York with his tude and all. He came from Berkeley, California. He came from the Bay Area. He definitely wasn't like a graduate, average graduate or stereotypical graduate of University of California, Berkeley. But yeah, so I'll just show you some of these photos. So in case you see this, you know you're not gonna fake fork out money. I got this as free as a bird. How much time? 5?
A little more.
So here are these Hall of Famers here. I think this is Joe DiMaggio. Where have you gone, Joe DiMaggio? The nation turns its lonely eyes to you. Woo. And it's got to be Mickey Mantle, because I see the New York Yankees insignia over their hearts. But for the life of me, I can't figure out which Met this is and which Dodger this is. Or Trolley Dodger. I used to wonder, where did the Dodgers get their name? The Brooklyn Dodgers and later the Los Angeles Dodgers when they moved out west. But now this could be suburban myth, but I actually found it in print. Apparently they were the Trolley Dodgers. The Brooklyn Trolley Dodgers, which kind of makes sense when you're in Brooklyn, but when you head to Los Angeles, I don't know if Los Angeles ever had a trolley. But yeah, that here's Mickey Mantle. I think it's a setup photo holding a gun on Billy Martin at a card game. I can see Billy Martin cheating in a card game. I can't see Mickey Mantle holding a gun. Anyway, he did go duck hunting and stuff like that. According to his own account, he'd go deer hunting, I guess, with his buddies, but he didn't like shooting deer. He said he shot one early off in his life and hit it, I think he said, in the belly, and then he tracked the deer down. He lost the use of his legs, I guess. Something, part of it had hit the bullet or whatever, it hit his spine. And the deer, you know, they've got such big eye, gave him kind of like a recriminating look, you know. Like, why did you do this to me? Good question. I don't believe in killing mammals, at least. I don't like even eating fish. And I don't believe in killing birds either. They're so intelligent. But if you've got to hunt mammals, do it with a bow and arrow. Give the animal a chance. They're athletes. They have to be athletes. If they get injured, too bad. They're gonzo rapunzel. They can't make it. Every day of their life, basically, they're athletes. And it's mental athletes, not just physical athletes. When you think about how animals have got to remember, like wolves, where they've cached food. If they're deer or wolves, where are the sources of water? How do you find your way through the wilderness? From what I can tell, dogs have an amazing sense of memory for places. One of these days I'll recount something I experienced several times with a dog we lost.
I'm just going in front of the camera for a minute.
That's okay. You can keep on going in front of the camera for any number of times. Anyway, this is actually a pretty good autobiography. It's pretty realistic. I think it's based largely on recorded interviews with Mickey Mantle. And, every so occasionally the fancy $10 word sneaks in is something that Mickey wouldn't have said, wouldn't have even known existed. But it has cuss words in there. I don't think those things were provided by her look. And stuff like that. It has anecdotes in there that kind of show Mickey's clay feet. And, maybe clay knee or knees, trouble with his knees. He had something like an inherited condition, I think, or maybe it wasn't inherited, osteomyelitis, like that. And he actually lasted pretty well. Like we were talking the other day about, I suspect, the best all-round player ever, despite his tendency towards overeating and putting on too much weight, was Babe Ruth. It'll be interesting to see what happens with this old man. Dude who's a pitcher and a hitter, more or less at the same time. Babe Ruth chose not to be a pitcher. We got something like sick of it, but he was maybe at least 1 year the best pitcher in baseball, or at least in the league he was in, as the American League. And for several years, once he became a hitter, he's the best hitter. I mean, he hit for average, not just for staggering number of home runs, for his time. I mean, he ended up setting the record 60 home runs a year, and the previous record had been something like 29. And he'd lead the American, or majors, but the American League in home runs, and the next closest person would be like a third the number of home runs and stuff like that. But Mickey Mantle in here has several what ifs, like what if he hadn't been a boozer and bar hound and stuff like that, and actually taking care of himself. And that question, well, that's up to him. That doesn't reflect well on him. He's one of them. He might be, aside from this Otani, we're just seeing how his career developed. Mickey Mantle might have been the most, outside of Babe Ruth, the most brilliant player ever. But there's a difference between great and brilliant. Mickey Mantle apparently had incredible speed on the racetrack, out in center field, where he played much, if not most, of his career. And apparently was a good fielder out in the field. A lousy shortstop. He started as a shortstop. And there is a more relevant what if. He said, like he batted right-handed much of the time. He's a switch hitter. He got, I think, the majority of his home runs as hitting as a left-hander, and that's not his natural way of batting. That's how powerful he was. He could hit home runs on his weak side. But Yankee Stadium just eats up